Hey everybody, and welcome back. And today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about it's called growing up with dad. My father is most likely one of the best fathers a person could ever have. He's very incredibly intelligent, smart, and definitely stubborn, and sort of a badass. So, yeah, that was always good. I remember growing up, my dad had a 305 Yamaha motorcycle. It was blue. And believe it or not, uh, later on in life, I had friends who didn't believe it was a 305. They actually called me a liar about it, but yes, it was a Yamaha 305. And my dad used to take me for rides all the time with it. And when I mean take me for rides, he used to have me get on it with a helmet, and he would actually have me go, at night, even like when at night to go see my mom where she worked. My mom was at a waitress at a restaurant in Muskegon, and he would take me in there while she was working. And it was actually a lot of fun to be able to do stuff like that at the time. And being with my dad was always something that I really loved doing. And growing up, I can remember a time when my dad um, built this swimming pool in the backyard, and he literally like dug the where it was gonna sit, and he got the pool all set up, and he put patio brick around it, and I remember it really looking cool. And he had a fence around it, of course, to help keep out my little brother at the time from getting in there and possibly getting hurt. And I remember that as a kid, watching my dad work and do those things that were actually really incredible. And then one of the biggest things I can remember about growing up with my dad, when my dad was a little boy, he was a Boy Scout, and he ended up being an Eagle Scout. And he used to tell me about all the times when he used to go camping and doing all these fun things in the Scouts. And Scouts were a really important part of his life growing up. And I myself, I started out in the Scouts. I started out in the Webelos, and then went on to being a now I forgot the name of it. Can you believe that? Eagle Scout. Thank you. Eagle Scout. And it was really a fun time for me. But while I was a Weebelo, there was a time when my father and me, we went camping with a bunch of other scouts, and we went out to this area, and it was like a campground. Well, it wasn't like a campground. It was a campground. It had cabins, and we got to stay in the cabin. And we were out there for, I think it was like 3 days. And in those 3 days, we got to do all sorts of activities like whittling. I remember literally sitting and whittling a stick, and we got to make whistles. There's a guy there who showed us how to make a whistle out of a stick, and you literally cut it, and you peel, take the stick and you peel off the bark, and you do some carving on it, and then you literally put the bark back on it, and you got a whistle. It's actually pretty cool. Actually, I can still do that today. Maybe I'll make one and show you how to do one here on podcast. But that was actually pretty cool. And then going camping with my father at the time was really actually a lot of fun, because we played capture the flag. Now, one of the things about me is I don't like to lose, and I didn't like to lose that day. And so we were playing capture the flag, and it was at night. So there was a campfire burning, and what we had to do is, if you don't capture the flag, you got one side that has a flag, and you got the other side that has a flag. and y'all have to take turns running at the flag, or you rush the flag, and then if you get caught, your guys dwindle down, and the last person to get caught or the one to get the flag will win. And so I literally, when they said ready, set, go, I took off the other way, and like I was scared or something. I went up into the woods and I went around, because there was the game was in like a bowl. It was we were on Lake Michigan. It was like sand dunes, and there was this thing that went down, and we were playing right in the center of it. And so what I did is I ran up the hill, and I started going through the woods and going real quietly while everybody else is playing. No one really noticed that I just completely disappeared. That's what kind of frightens me now that I think about it. So I'm running through that area of woods, and all of a sudden, man, I ran into a cable that was about chest high. It hit me so hard. I went flying on the ground, and I remember knocking the wind out of me. And I laid there on the ground, and I told myself, you got to get up, got to get up. So what I did is I worked my way and got around the back of them, and I waited for that moment. I just waited for that one moment. And so I literally took off, grabbed their flag, and I ran like I'd never ran before in my life. And we won the game. I ran and got right up by our flag. I put it in the ground, and I sat back, and I was covered in sweat. Oh, I remember that so bad. However, you know how kids get really pissed off, right? Well, yeah, some kid got really mad, and I was down below, and there's some kids up there. It was kind of like, like a cliff coming down. It was only like 7 feet up in the air or something, but unfortunately he was above me. Urinated on my head because he was mad. Yeah, he did that. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I'm sure his dad probably beat him up pretty bad. Later on in life, my parents would divorce, and then we'd be going, see my dad on the weekends and things like that. He always made it special for us boys. I remember that a lot. He always had activities to do. We always had a good time. Always had a lot of good times there, and it was fulfilling. To be honest with you, I mean, my dad did his best to be a great father, and he was. I mean, growing up, I actually had 2 great fathers and 2 great stepmoms. But my dad was an incredible father. I learned a lot from my dad, and one of the biggest things I remember, another big thing, one of the biggest things I remember is when my dad bought me my first car. My first car was a Chevy Impala, and it was 1972. I remember that. It was blue, and this boat was big. Did you hear what I called it? This boat? It was big. This car was huge, and it was a 2-door. And me and my dad, every time I was up there, we worked on the car. And this had a 350 Chevy motor in it. Had headers, a big old 4-barrel carburetor, and I mean, the boat, I keep wanting to call it a boat, but it was a boat. It was something else. Yeah. So, but anyway, we had it, and we worked on it, and we got it, and we worked on it. I think it was like a year, and then on I think it was my 17th birthday, my dad gave me the car. Nope, it was my 18th birthday. That's right. So he gave me the car on my 18th birthday, and I didn't get to drive it though until after I graduated, unfortunately, because we still had a lot of work to do on it. So I can remember the day I got the car, and I got it licensed. I had it insured, and I just, like, the first place I wanted to go was my girlfriend's. I wanted to go show my girlfriend on our new car. And at that time, it was fun. I remember it being a lot of fun. And that was the year I actually graduated and everything. So it was pretty cool. And then but yeah, that was actually a really good memory, being able to work with my dad and my dad showing me how certain things work. But I grew up with my dad working on vehicles all the time. I mean, he literally worked on a lot of things. Um, Not to mention, there was times when I had shop class in school, and he'd let me work on things with him, work on his cars, and also not only working on cars, but I actually did some carpentry work for my dad in his house, like doing plastering and helping him put in cupboards. He taught me a lot about doing that and things like like doing uh, God, I hate that when I forget a word, but yeah. Um, anyway, let's just say he showed me a lot, and I just was just it was just crazy. And then, of course, you graduate from high school, you get your own family, and I just remember I traded my dad's car for a piece of crap Javelin, an AMC Javelin, which didn't have no color. It was multicolored because it had primer all over it. The engine ran decent when it wanted to start. I'll just tell you that. So, and you literally, you could be driving it for days and days, and you go somewhere, and you go to get in it, and it wouldn't start, and you need someone to give you a jump or whatever the case may be. And so, I hated that car, but I ended up selling it, and I ended up buying one of my first cars from a dealership, and that was about the time when I got married. Well, actually, that was before I got married. It was just after I got married is when I bought that car, because I was working at a dealership, and I got a real good deal on it. It was just amazing deal I got on that car, and it was 1970. It was 1976 Chevy Monza, and it kind of had like a silver blue. It was a really nice car, and had a four-cylinder Vega motor in it. And me and my dad, one summer, we decided to build that motor, and we rebuilt that motor from the top to the bottom. I mean, we had new pistons, rings. We had the head milled. We had a lot of work done on this car. I mean, on the engine itself. And back in those days, I mean, the work, I think I paid like $800 worth of work on that car. And in those days, that was a lot of money, especially for me when I didn't make that much money. But I got discounts at where I worked at, and I pretty much my whole entire summer and part of fall to pay off all that debt. But anyway, so me and him, we rebuilt that motor, we put it in, it ran like a top. Now that Chevy Monza I had Cragar rims, chrome Cragar rims all the way around it. That car was just a beautiful car. It was a 4-speed manual, so of course it had a clutch and everything. What I say, a manual? Yeah, manual. Anyway, so it was a really nice car, and it was just after my daughter passed away that that car would end up being sold, and that's when I had to get myself a family car, pretty much. And I ended up doing pretty well. I mean, not too well, but better than nothing, right? So we had a lot of times, me and my dad. And later on in life, as time goes by, these little bits and pieces of memories, like the time when my dad put on a pair of roller skates, and he was I mean, I used to roller skate everywhere, and I used to roller skate, at the skating rinks and speed skate, and I just did all sorts of stuff. One day, my dad had been drinking a little bit, having a good time, and he was out there uh, skating, and my body just shake because I can just remember him like on the street, and his legs went out from underneath him, and he hit that ground so hard. Oh, I'm feeling it right now. But it was quite the trip. I mean, it was definitely a really hard fall. But he got up like a trooper, and he took the skates off. I remember he handed them back to me. He says, "Yeah," he goes, "Thanks for it, but I'll be paying for this for the next week." And I guess he did. And and during the summer times when I used to go with my dad, my stepmother, and him, if I was playing music, because I was always playing music, but if I was doing it and they got a song that they loved, they'd go out there and cut the rug. I mean, him and my stepma was good dancers to watch them dance. It was just amazing. And then um, I think that uh, a lot, my dad having my, you know, being married to my stepmother was a very good thing for him because they extremely loved each other a lot. And although families have problems, that everybody has their problems, and that includes us. As being kids, we go through a lot of emotional problems, and our parents are the ones that have to deal with that. I mean, I'm learning that right now myself. I'm learning the fact that my dad went through a lot of stuff, and my mom went through a lot of stuff, and I just being step parents alone, I can just imagine how hard it is. And then I, one of the things I remember mostly is when my dad had a dog. His name was Buddy, and my dad loved that dog. He spoiled that dog, and he, even though my stepmother had two dogs, Buddy was my dad's dog, and that dog was meant everything to him. And one time, Buddy got sick, and my dad took him in, and they had to do surgery on him, and it ended up where my dad ended up losing the dog. And I remember my dad calling me up, and you could hear in his voice that just he was completely in shock, and he was upset. As much as it, I know it hurt him. He was upset. My dad was extremely upset, and I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, I got my dogs right now, and I can almost, I know the inevitable is coming, and you got to spend as much time you can with them as much as possible. And that was really hard on him. And then uh, some years down the road, he would lose my stepma to cancer. And I remember the day that he called me up and said that she had passed away, and we went up to the hospital, and we sat in a room with him for a while with my stepmother, and my dad was, again, he was hurt, and I hated to see my dad, like that, and to this day, if my dad was ever to see this video, which I'll probably show it to him, I had one of the best dads a kid could ever ask for, and he had a lot. He'd done a lot for us kids, and I mean he did not let his kids suffer. I can tell you that right now. He took care of his kids as much as possible. He took care of his kids, and so, and he's always been a very good father. Uh, he's up there in his 80s right now. I think he's 84 years old, and I can see my dad right now. He's getting old. He worked in a foundry almost his entire life, and he worked hard. He worked hard for the money that he earned, and he took care of his family. He took care of his kids, and he continues to do that to this day. And we all know that at some point, we want to tell our parents, how much we love them. And so, Dad, I love you. Thanks a lot, everybody. Like and subscribe to my channel, and hope you have a great weekend. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.